Alright, so today we're going to install an oxygen sensor. Now it looks like the company that sent this to me sent me the wrong one. This looks like the Precat O2 sensor for this car because of how long these wires are. This is supposed to be a really short wired O2 sensor, and I'm going to show you exactly what I'm talking about here. We do have the car on 2 sets of jack stands, but right here we have the catalytic converter. That's what this giant piece is right here. And right here is the oxygen sensor. Now, this car is a little odd because I've never seen any kind of a protective shield over an O2 sensor before, but we have this shield that protects the oxygen sensor. We've got a bolt over here and a bolt right here. These bolts are really, really rusted, so I'm betting money these are probably going to snap. And I'm not really worried about replacing this shield. I don't really think it does anything. But as you can see, if you follow this wiring harness up, you'll see this is a very short connector. Just unsnaps from right here, pull it out, pull this out, knock that sensor loose. Pretty simple. But the one they sent me has a really long one. Now there's another oxygen sensor somewhere right here in the exhaust manifold itself. See if we can get some light on this. There is the Precat. This is the one that actually makes a difference. So if you get a code for your rear oxygen sensor, downstream sensor, it's really not important. All it does is monitor the efficiency of the catalytic converter. And in some cases, if you've got a code for your rear O2 sensor, it may not be the sensor that's bad, but actually the catalytic converter that is not efficient anymore. But this sensor in the manifold is the one that determines your air-fuel ratio. It's part of a group of sensors, I should say, that determine your air-fuel ratio. So that's the important one. This one right here, if you don't mind a check engine light, this one right here, if you don't mind a check engine light being on, actually doesn't do anything. It's basically a sniffer. It just tests the efficiency of the catalytic converter. So we're going to get started on replacing this right now.
These are the days that fly by when you're not looking. Don't wanna waste it on all your nights spent alone again. We are different, stuck in a small town, haven't left just yet. Got bigger dreams running through our heads, running through our heads. Oh, we hear the rumbling of the road, a new song playing far from home. We come together to answer the call. We play it loud, or we play nothing at all. We carry the heat of the summer. We dance to the beat of our own drum. We got a rhythm like no other. We're always gonna be the wild ones. No, there's no rest for the wild ones. No, there's no rest for the wild ones. No, there's no rest for the wild ones. We're always gonna be the wild ones.
God damn it.
We've all got a fever, burning up since we were young. We're headstrong believers that the best is yet to come. We are different, got a freight train running through our minds. Gonna take us away tonight, away tonight. Oh, we hear the rumbling of the road, a new song playing far from home. We come together to answer the call. We play it loud, or we play nothing at all.
So before we go any further, I want to show you the tool that I use most often. We had a lot of OBD2 readers companies send me to review for you guys, and all of them are very decent readers. I've never reviewed one that I thought was a bad code reader, but this is the one that I use more than anything. It's a very powerful handheld reader. This is an OBD2 dongle. This runs about $100 from Blue Driver. I have a direct link in the description and pinned in the comments if you want one of these for yourself. It's very easy to use. I like it because of how small it is. You can put it in your pocket, so if you're ever somewhere that doesn't want you to have code readers, you know, nobody's going to know you even have it. You just take this little thing, plug it into your OBD2 port, which on this car is somewhere down here. There you go. You see it lights up, letting you know that it's installed. And you take your car key, slide it in the ignition. Ugh. This car is small. Either that or I'm just getting big. All right, turn the ignition to on, but don't start the car. Turn the radio off. And then you bring up your smartphone, right? Scroll on over to the Blue Driver app right here, and it will connect via Bluetooth. It's asking me for permission to connect via Bluetooth, which we will do now. It takes, you know, a few seconds. We'll do this in real time, not going to edit it down. All right, now we're connected. Now you come over here to where it says read codes. Sorry guys, this is hard to do. And you can see we have one code, and the code is HO2S heater control circuit low, bank 1, sensor 2. Well, this car only has one exhaust manifold, so it's always going to be bank 1. Sensor 1 is upstream, sensor 2 is downstream. Now that's the only code we have, so we're going to click clear. Like I said, doing this one-handed is difficult, I apologize. And then we're going to tell it, yes, clear trouble codes. Now we have no codes. I will turn the ignition off, pull the key out, put the key back in. We will start it up, and if we still have an issue with the heater control circuit, the check engine light should come on pretty much instantaneously. This car is ice cold. It has not been started in a couple days. So it's going to attempt to heat that O2 sensor immediately. And if we still have a fault, it should come on almost instantaneously. The check engine light on this car is over here, and as you can see, it is not on. Now, we're going to go over to scan, and we're going to scan for any new pending codes, and as you can see, it quickly showed us there are no trouble codes. So I'm going to do it one more time because it should know that there's a fault with the heater circuit on the O2 sensor by now, and there's not one. So there you go. We have successfully resolved our check engine light, and now, even though it doesn't make any performance difference with the car, it's just a whole lot more enjoyable to drive without seeing a big yellow check engine light in your face all the time. So we'll go ahead and shut her off, turn it on one more time. It sounds like a jet engine shutting down. I love it. All right, we'll put it back into gear, and then only thing that's left to do is just pull the jack stands out, lower it down, and you're good to go. So like I said, direct link in the description if you're interested in getting yourself one of these Blue Driver modules. These things are great. They have so many different things that they can scan, and not just scanning, but clear. They do ABS, they do airbag, your SRS restraint system, the seat belt. Like this little device can do basically what some of your bigger devices are capable of doing. It's only $100. I've been using this same device for over 2 years now, so I do swear by it. Thank you. This would all be a lot more difficult without my brother's assistance. So the next project that we're going to be working on is the Corvette. And this is one I'm really excited. I don't think I've ever been excited about doing shocks before, but I'm excited about doing shocks now. I know it's not going to be a super interesting video, but I am not just going to replace the shocks on the Vette. My fiance, she's not going to be on video. She doesn't like being on video. But she's going to change one side of the car herself, and I'm going to change the other side with my brother's help. And once we get these replaced, I'm going to show you like the front and back on one side, and my fiance is going to do the other side. But once we replace these from what's on it now, which is the factory original, we're going to do basically a review of how the car handles with no modifications other than just upgrading the shocks. Now, my Corvette has, I think, 68,000 miles on the odometer right now, so that's not ridiculously high mileage. There's nothing wrong with the shocks that are currently on it. They feel like they ride decent. I just feel like I would like more stability. I feel like these are going to make a huge difference, and I don't know because I've never bought Bilsteins before. But from everything I've read on the Corvette forums, like these are the go-to shocks to really, really improve the handling of your car without any other modifications. These things alone are supposed to make a huge difference. So I got a couple new tires coming for the front. These shocks were $444 delivered. We're going to get these on in hopefully one of the next videos soon. Maybe not the next video. We got a Copart walk-around video coming up. We're going to do these, and then I'm going to do a separate video later on. I'll give my initial impressions, but then after driving them probably, you know, a few thousand miles or so, we'll come back and we'll talk about the performance differences, if any, from the Bilsteins versus the OEM General Motors shocks. So that's going to be it for today's video. I appreciate you guys taking the time to watch. I'm getting out of here. Stay safe out there, and I will catch you guys. What is wrong with me today? I'm still congested. I will catch you guys soon in the next one.